Hello everyone, how are you doing? Jason Lawrence here. Today I wanted to talk about the beginning process and how things should go with starting off your home build. And most of this is going to be talking about things that need to take place before any physical work starts. So typically, and we'll talk about if somebody's going to be building a custom home, but this really pertains to even if it's a floor plan that you're choosing from a builder. So if a client brings in a blueprint and maybe they've found one online that they like, in order for them to be able to move ahead with us as a builder or anybody as a builder, they need to have an idea, or you should have an idea as to what that build is going to cost, right? So what we will do is we'll take the custom plan that they've brought in, we'll take a build plan of ours that we know the price on, or if you're a builder out there, maybe you haven't built a lot of homes, you don't have a bunch of home plans with base prices, but you could maybe take a home that is somewhat similar, so you can lay those two homes out together and you can compare things with them. I do have a course out there that is designed to save you money, time, and avoid costly issues with your build. And I include in there a checklist that allows you to compare builders' plans. And this is useful for anybody that just wants to compare plans and understand why the plans are going to be priced differently or what could make one plan more than another. But I've got a whole list of things that I'm going to check for and compare when I'm laying out those plans together. I'm going to count the amount of windows in each home, the amount of foundation corners. I'm going to look at, how much front porch there is, what the garage sizes are, how many gables there are on the front of the home, if there's a dormer on the roof or not, the amount of masonry on a home, the length of or the footage of cabinets that you have in the home, the number of bathrooms, closets, interior doors. There's a whole lot of things that go into making one home plan more than another. But anyways, I'm going to take the custom plan that somebody's brought in. I'm going to take a plan that I know the pricing on, and I'm going to count up and basically make a list of all these differences, and then I'm going to add and subtract for the differences. So if I've got a home build plan of ours that's $500,000 and somebody brings in their custom plan, I'm going to add, maybe the custom plan is 100 square feet bigger, maybe the garage is 20 square feet bigger, maybe it's got 6 more windows, 3 more foundation corners. And I've actually, from my experience doing this, I've got like a foundation corner, for example. I'm typically going to use $1,000 per foundation corner. Windows, that could be something you could easily look at and say, okay, what am I paying for a window? And you don't want to just add the cost of the window, because there's also going to be the additional framing labor for creating that opening and installing the window. So if my window is $400 that I'm paying, that's my cost, I'm probably going to add $600 a window just to be safe. If I give somebody, and when I give somebody a ballpark price for that custom home plan that they bring in, I'd rather be higher than what the actual amount is than lower. And I'll explain that why in a minute. But I'm going to go through again and I'm going to add and subtract for all of the differences. And then I'm going to be able to go back to that customer or client, and I'm going to say, okay, this is what the ballpark, based off of other homes or a similar home that we've built, this is what I'm coming up with for a ballpark. And be broad with the ballpark. Don't box yourself into, I think it's going to be, between 520 and 530. Because there's a whole lot of things that make the expense, finishes. Or at that point, you don't know exactly what type of finishes that they're going to be choosing. So you can say, I think it's going to be between 520 and 600,000, based off of something similar that we've done, and not knowing exactly all the finishes that are going to be in there. Mr. Customer, Mrs. Customer, is that in the ballpark? Is that in the range? Am I in the ballpark's a big place? Am I in the ballpark? If they tell me yes, I'm in the ballpark, then I can let them know, well, in order to get an exact cost on your build, we're going to need to take this plan that you brought in. I'm going to need to draw it up as a full working set of blueprints, and I'm going to need to send this out to my team of contractors so that I can get a price. In addition to that, I'm going to have you do the selections while we're doing that. So that way, when I'm putting in a budget amount, filling out the budget, filling out the cost breakdown, coming up with the final price, when I'm putting in an amount for the cabinets, I'm not just guessing at an amount or using an allowance or so on and so forth. I'm actually able to use the number based off of the number the cabinet company gave me, because you met with them and you selected the cabinet door style that you want, the color that you want, the layout that you want. You've got all the extras in there as far as pull-out drawers and spice rack and things like that. So now the number that I'm going to get from the cabinet company is going to include everything that you want. So that way, when I come up with my final build cost, it's going to include everything that you're choosing. So when I come up with my final build cost, we're going to be able to put a building contract together and give that to the bank. And we know that the cost shouldn't, and I say shouldn't, go above and beyond that, because we've done our selections and we're accounting for the exact finishes that you're going to have in your home. Now, of course, there are going to be things that can come up in the field. A lot of site work items can be unforeseen, and those can add additional expense, which at that point you as the customer are typically going to be paying out of pocket. An example would be, and even if you're not somewhere where you have to do a basement, we have to dig down 8 feet if we're doing an 8-foot basement, and that's where we're going to put the footings and we're going to build the basement walls off of there. Well, if I dig down 8 feet and I don't have good compactable soil, I'm still digging up topsoil, and I have to keep going deeper. That means that whatever depth I end up with, say 10 feet, and we need to be at an 8-foot wall, I'm going to have to fill that in with stone and probably compact it as well, and maybe even have an engineer sign off on that. But I'm going to have to do that so that we can properly build the house. And that's something that, unless you have test holes dug ahead of time, that could be something that is an unforeseen cost and comes up to kind of, again, at that point you're paying out of pocket, and it could be a lot of money that you're paying out of pocket. So in my course, I do have a form that is called a pricing verification checklist and a site improvements checklist. And I do mention the test holes in there, because that's really the only way to know what's in the ground before you actually close on the construction loan and start digging. If you do these test holes ahead of time, then you can budget in that additional amount that is needed, and it's not going to delay construction. You're already aware of what's happening out there. It's accounted for. Everybody knows what they're going to be doing as far as additional work and kind of what that additional cost is going to be. So that would be a way to do it. But I'm going to let the customer know, in order to get you a final number, I need to bid out your plan. I need you to do the selections and all of the selections, so that all of the line items that I'm filling in order to give an exact build price, these are all accurate to what you're going to be picking and what you did pick to go in your home. So again, you're trying to eliminate as many out-of-pocket expenses or unexpected expenses or upgrades, change orders, trying to eliminate as many of those things as possible. Because the change orders, builders can charge for doing change orders, because it takes them time to make the change and go back and let all of the subs know that, hey, this something new that's going to be going on here. There's still a risk that the old selection gets put into play because that's what originally went out. So there's a little bit of risk as far as the builder goes when they're going to make a change. Once we come up with that exact number and we can put our building contract together, then we can go ahead and we can give that building contract to the bank. Now let me back up just a minute here, because when I was talking about getting an exact building cost, I mentioned blueprints. You know, you want the blueprint to be exact. That's another one of those things that, you know, if you know that the initial blueprint that you got drawn up is going to have changes and you're not happy with things, and you might want to, you know, add windows or square foot, you know, don't have them go ahead and put the bid together, because that price is going to change based off of some of the changes that you want to end up doing in there. So that's just something to be mindful of. The other thing, again, the site improvements are such a huge X factor when it comes to the overall building expense. You know, when we're building on a piece of raw land, between the building permits and the driveway we're going to put in, the culvert and the survey work, and the septic system and the well, or you know, the sewer laterals and the water laterals, a lot of times, you know, we've got figured in, like, you know, that could be like $60,000 if you're just building on a piece of raw land that's unimproved with no sewer and water. You know, gas and electric is another big expense. Depending on how far back you are off the street, gas and electric can range quite a bit. Depending on where the gas and electric is located, is the electric across the street from your property, or is it on your side? Is it down the road? You know, maybe the electric needs to be extended down the road to get to your property. Same with the gas line. So these are all things, before you finalize your pricing with the builder, you want to make sure these things are accounted for in your pricing. So once everything has been investigated and the builder's had the excavator give him a quote on sewer and water laterals, and a quote on what the driveway expense is going to be based off of how far you're off the street, and a quote from the energy company as to how much gas and electric is going to, you know, once you've investigated everything, then you put together your building contract. Now, there are going to be times where, you know, people are, I don't know if I want to say in a rush, but there's going to be times where people want to move things forward a little more quickly. And I mean, I've done this plenty of times as a builder. You know, we put in allowances for certain things. And a lot of times, again, there's unforeseen things. You may not, you know, go out and investigate something and you're putting an allowance in there, and then it turns out that once the home's under construction, well, this particular thing ended up costing a lot more money than what was initially budgeted in there, and then there's an additional expense for you as the customer. But once you've got everything investigated, you put that building contract together, you give that to the bank. The bank is going to take 30 days to 45 days, maybe 60 days, depending on where you are in the bank that you're using, and they're going to be able to process the construction loan, and you're going to close on your construction loan. So once you close on your construction loan, that's when the builder is going to be able to start, you know, basically doing things that cost money, because they know that, okay, all of the money needed to build this house is in an escrow account. Now, the builder can't just take money out of there whenever he wants. There's a draw process, which basically means there's a number of times throughout the build that the builder is going to take money from that escrow account. And before the builder can do that, both you and the title company that's holding the money, that has the escrow account set up, or the bank that is holding the money and has the escrow account set up, they are going to be, you know, checking and inspecting and making sure that the work has been done before they release the money. And you'll do that too. You'll have to sign off on the draw, on the amount that's going to be drawn. And you're going to have to, you know, sign off on that, send it back to the builder, and then the builder can take that money to pay for the contractors that have done work so far on the home. So that's that very beginning process after the building contract is put into place. That's what happens with the construction loan, and the money goes into an escrow account. And I'm not going to get too much further into this, because I just wanted to talk about that beginning process and and just let you know that that is the right way to do it. And even if you come and see me as a builder, it's okay to say, hey, you know what, I watched that video of yours, and we need to make sure we're getting every little thing here, and I want to do every select, because a lot of times the builder, they want to move things forward. They want to get that next hole in the ground. They've got their reasons for wanting to keep things moving forward, and they've got the mentality of, okay, we want to get it to the bank. We want to get the permit, want to get the hole in the ground, and we'll make sure everything's handled along the way. But for you as the customer, you want to make sure that there aren't any surprises, or there's the fewest amount of surprises as possible. And so that is the way to properly do it. I'm going to put all the details for the course that I have in the detail of the video. That's all I've got for this one. I hope that there was some useful information in here for you. Thanks for your time. Take care. God bless.